Sean Salisbury set to join us, clean up the mess here, former NFL quarterback and host of the Sean Salisbury Show on Sports Talk 790 in Houston. I want to let people know that Sean is in his car. If you're watching on Peacock, you're not driving. Just want to make sure that they know you're not driving while you're doing this interview.
Pulled over for you, Dan, because you're special. I'm not good enough to do two things at once, so I'm going to talk to you. It's good to be on with you guys.
All right. A couple of things to talk to you about. We spent a lot of time talking about Deshaun Watson over the last year with you. How do you think how did Houston fare here in this situation?
Oh, Dan, I think I would have got more, but you get a 1 and a 3 and a 1 and a 4 and a 1 and a 4 in whatever order. So you get 6 assets. Deshaun Watson's a better player than Russ Wilson is in my mind. I think he's a top 5 player in the league at his position. Now, I would have gone after what Denver did, but you got to have a player that wants to go after what Denver did and with his no trade situation. 3 first rounders was the place to start. And however you got assets, I would have loved for the Texans to grab a player or two that could have helped a young team and impact them with a little veteran experience. But I don't think they got fleeced when it comes to this. But where you do get fleeced is, and for reasons we all know, Watson didn't want to be here, the legal stuff, is that you're getting rid of what everybody needs in this league. Ask the Rams with Matt Stafford. Denver thinks they got it with Russ Wilson, Josh Allen, Mahomes. You're getting a top 5 player, and you're not winning Super Bowls anymore without not a guy, but that guy at quarterback. Cleveland's better now. They got better. Baker Mayfield, hopefully he'll be a good player again, but Deshaun Watson's better. So anytime you get that franchise guy, you win the deal. And Deshaun's won everything, Dan. 230 guaranteed. He gets to go play where he wanted to play. He had to sit out last year, but he got paid. He gets another year where his legs are fresh. Everything he did worked to Deshaun Watson's favor football-wise. So, listen, you had to build it somewhere. You got 6 assets. Good place to start. Now they got to win the draft, meaning the Texans. But Cleveland wins because you get a franchise quarterback that's going to be on the field for you at some point. You get him for the next decade, and he'll be an MVP guy or a candidate every damn year.
Do we just assume that he's going to write a check and the civil lawsuits all go away?
Dan, listen, judging from how he's won every step of the way, the legal part, you hear stuff go, but once the criminal charges were dropped and pushed, or were done, I think teams thought the same thing. Now, people are going to judge where their moral compass is about Deshaun Watson in this 22 he said, she said. I wouldn't know because I wasn't there, neither do you, but I would imagine the commissioner is going to have to do something, right? I don't know what it is, but do something with the optics of this to send a message. But I would imagine, Dan, at some point, I don't know what the money's going to be, but if it's civil, it's going to come down to probably some money, move on and repair your reputation, play good football, and hope that the off the field stuff, remorse or whatever it is, but Deshaun's maintained his innocence the whole time. So Dan, really does come down to that. Cleveland has moved on and said, well, we can deal with whatever comes down to civil lawsuits. We got a great football player. Since he's not going to jail, they're going to deal with this, and he's got a powerful lawyer in Rusty Hardin. So, Dan, it'll be business as usual when the fall comes up. A great quarterback who going to get paid $230 guaranteed $1 million whenever he's on the field.
I also wonder, is there a parallel with how the league looked at Ben Roethlisberger when he wasn't charged criminally, but he got 6 games and then it was reduced to 4. I know this is 22 civil lawsuits here, which is different, but I wonder if they'll still look at this and maybe he gets 6 games or 8 games, something like that, and then maybe it's reduced. Can you see it? I don't know if there's another parallel here, and maybe I shouldn't be looking for one. I'm just looking at the punishment part of this for football.
Yeah, Dan, I'm right with you. And we were discussing that this morning too on my show about, all right, isn't that the parallel you have to compare it to? And our society, even though at any point in time, I don't care if it's 30 years ago or now, you have to take these allegations serious. Well, how serious? And people's moral compass. But if you're the commissioner, Dan, I don't think we can go the other way because we've seen the punishment, smoking weed, one thing, domestic violence, another, these situations. I don't think if you're the commissioner, you can err on the side of, hey, let's give him a game or two and move on. If you're going to err, you better err on the side of protecting women and making sure, and everybody needs to be protected, but making sure you do it the right way. And if Ben was the parallel 22 of them is a bit more severe. It would seem. I can't fathom that he's going to go unscathed with any kind of suspension. But I would think if I was a commissioner, getting it right with the optics and with, though not just the optics, but with the moral fiber of our country right now is the way it should be. I can't imagine Deshaun Watson starts the season under center in Cleveland. But then again, I'm not that smart. But apparently the commissioner is going to have to make a decision soon so the Browns know what to do. If I'm Deshaun's people, I would expect that we're going to miss some games. And I think that would probably be wise by the commissioner.
I was told when there was the flirting between the Browns and Deshaun Watson, my source said the Texans don't want Baker Mayfield. And then it eventually turned out that was true, that they weren't interested in Baker Mayfield. Why weren't the Texans interested in Baker Mayfield?
Dan, they believe Davis Mills is a player. Now, you think about last year, they didn't have a first or second round pick, and Nick Caserio went in and got Davis Mills in the third round. And people in Houston moaned about it. Still wanted Deshaun, kind of weren't sure. He said he didn't want to be here, the legal stuff, but people held out hope that, well, maybe Deshaun will want to play here. But it's like, why would you take a quarterback? Well, he starts off slow and ends the season. Aside from Mac Jones, you could argue that the way he played, he was either one or two as a rookie quarterback. So the third round situation doesn't matter. But Dan, think about it, not just Baker Mayfield. They didn't try to get Matt Ryan. They didn't try to go in and get a Russ Wilson or a star veteran. They haven't inquired about Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't inquire about, you go Carson Wentz, all these guys that they're going, and they don't have any interest in any of these first round quarterbacks, because I don't believe there's a franchise, at least immediate changer in the draft. They think Davis Mills is a player. Now, this year is going to be important, but they also saw growth enough mentally, emotionally, and physically to say, we got a guy that we don't have to spend a first rounder. And I'm not sure, Dan, here that they think Baker Mayfield's better than Davis Mills.
Yeah.
I think they got themselves a fairly good steal in the third round who can spin it a little bit and who's got a pretty bright future.
Yeah, and he's not going to cost you. We're talking to Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback, host of the Sean Salisbury Show on Sports Talk 790 in Houston. I thought about you when I saw the news about John Clayton, our former coworker, because you guys spent a lot of time together, certainly off camera and then certainly on camera. Your relationship was back and forth. How did you guys get paired up to begin with?
Yeah, Dan, I'm struggling with this one. And I don't mean to be emotional. It's hard on me. When I got this news Friday, over the weekend on Friday night, I took like a 7 p.m. nap. I was exhausted. All of a sudden I wake up, there's like 60 messages on my phone, text message. I'm like, there's like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, what's 60? And I look at it, and all of them from friends and our guy Seth Markman and a bunch let me know that what had happened. And I was devastated. Because I talked to John a handful of weeks ago, seemed fine. He spent so much time taking care of his great wife, Pat, and spending all these years being one of the best in the business. How it started with 4 Downs, Dan, was I was in the newsroom with our guy, Mark Preisler, and Mark Shapiro wanted to do something different. And Mark was there at the time. And they came up to me in the newsroom at ESPN, and John was doing a remote somewhere and said, we want to do something different, like the nerd or the smart guy versus the jock. I said, wait a minute, am I the smart guy or the jock? But and so I said, some would argue I wasn't a jock, and a whole lot of them are going to say I'm not the smart guy. So they said, let's try this. And it was Dan, and I think John and I were most proud of, it was the original like sports debate thing. And I didn't know it was going to catch on like this. And I still, to this day, you and I have talked about it over the years, more questions about John Clayton and I, and however you want to ask them, than any question I've ever received in my playing time. They don't want to know if I threw a touchdown. They don't want to know who I think the first pick of the draft. How's your relationship with John Clayton? And Dan, you know this for the years you were there. We never scripted it.
Yeah.
We were never told what to say. We would discuss it off camera with the people that asked the questions, and it was organic, and we let it rip. And our relationship was always special. I've known him since 1986 before that, but it became even more tight-knit and close over the years with this, and we weren't sensitive. We got after it. What you saw was real intensity, but when the second the camera went off, John and I were back to being great friends. I'm having a hard time with this because I love him, and he was an original pioneer of this.
Yeah.
And Dan, over all the years of covering sports and watching it and loving it like you do, I don't know if I've ever been around a guy who loved talking football on TV and radio more than John did. And like the commercial with, you used to kid him about the ponytail. That's where it started. And to get that commercial was like validation for John. He loved it, Dan. And he's the one guy, he'd crawl 1,500 miles to talk on a radio show at midnight because he loved it.
Yeah.
I was honored to be his partner. He was a great radio and television partner, and Four Downs was awesome. And I'm having a hard time because he was a special friend.
Good to talk to you. And, I did think about you because, the professor, I called him Johnny Goodtimes because he always talked about the positive. He loved, it's like Tim Kirchin. Tim always talks about the positives of baseball. And John always talked about the positives. And he was always available. Always. You need him to do a live shot? John's there. Need him to be a guest on your radio show? John's there. Always.
And Dan, it didn't mean if it was midnight or 6 a.m. John didn't care.
Yeah.
A loyal friend, a loyal worker. And I hope all the insiders that come on after, through these years realize that this was one of the greatest we ever had in the business. I'm going to miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, bud. That's Sean Salisbury, host of the Sean Salisbury Show on Sports Talk 790 in Houston.